Hey guys, CUTTERUP Rob here. I am finally doing the video for 6.7 differences between the older version and the newer version. So I have a 2019 engine that I got from Evan. This is where I got this core from, and it was taken out because it was damaged. But we got a 19 block, and then I have a 2011 block. So this is a rear gear train, but the block itself and the head, the stuff we're talking about is the same. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this. We'll show the differences, that type of stuff. And I think to start with, we'll start with the block. So this is the 2019 block. And really for the most part, a lot of it is the same, but there is some differences. You can see there's some shape differences. Here where the water pump is, if you look at that one, that's a little bit different, but very similar. Like at all the accessories and stuff will bolt on this one. I'm pretty sure would bolt on that one. Now going across, like I said, some of the shape is different, but for the geometry side of things, it looks very, very similar. I'm not gonna actually measure a bunch of stuff. The cylinder head, I'm not even gonna talk about because I took the cylinder head is actually on a different engine already. But the cylinder head was the same as far as I could tell. It went on to an older engine, no problems, and it is in the truck running, has been for a long time. So on the block side of things, like I said, a little bit of differences from block to block. So here's the other block. Basically cosmetic stuff from what I can see. Now these blocks are lighter. I can't remember the weight difference now, but they are lighter. And these are supposed to be stronger. So I'm told. Don't know on that one. Never had much to do with those ones because that's that new engine, right? So, but nice. It's kind of cool to be able to do the comparison or the versus. So the earlier 6.7 versus the later, or the earlier 6.7 versus the later 6.7. Now, getting into the differences from what I know, and if I miss anything you guys know of, just let me know down in the comments because I don't know everything. So we're just going to stand this up here. So on this block, you have 12 mil main studs, and we'll talk about that in a second, or 12 mil main bolt, sorry. And then the cam bores on this block, you have on a not all 6.7s, but most of them, you'll have a cam bushing on the, on each end, and then it's a ore bearing on the inside. So just keep that in mind. And then also too, the tappet, how the tappet hole looks like there. Now, you go over to this engine, and this is a bunch of the main differences of them. Stand this one up. So this one has a little bit of different structure in it. If you look, you can see the structure difference here versus on this one. It's a similar idea, it just has holes in it for some reason. Not really sure the reason for the holes, but it's probably why they're a little bit lighter. But if you notice on this one, this has 14 mil main bolts. And it also has cam bearings throughout. All of the holes have a cam bearing in them. And then the main thing, see how big those lifter bores are? They're big. There's a notch there for some reason. Other than that, for the most part, they're very similar, very, very similar. There's a little bit of webbing difference, but for the most part, I think it's just a lightning thing because that's not really going to make it any stronger. So now done looking at the blocks, let's take a quick look at the crankshafts. So this is the one out of the 19. This is the one out of a earlier style. Now there is two different styles of this one. So the 2007 to 2012 basically have a flat bottom on them. And then the later ones have a snout on them. And I think I've talked about that in a different video, but that's the difference between the engines as far as that goes. There is a couple difference over the years. The heads had a couple differences and stuff, but for the most part, they're interchangeable. But you do have, I don't know if I have that one sitting here. No, it's not. I thought. Oh yeah, so if you look there, see how there's like a little pocket there. So this is a 13 plus, and I don't know what the difference was Some cabin chassis, pretty much all the cabin chassis had this, but I've seen it in regular pickup trucks too. So I don't know what the actual definitive, it doesn't seem to make any difference. The head is the same other than that. And then if you look at this head, it doesn't have that. Both 6.7s. I would imagine it probably has some, it does promote airflow with that. And then it also, well, they crack in there. That's another one. But it, like I said, I don't know 100%. Some trucks have it, some trucks don't. A lot of 13 pluses have it, but not all of them if they're a pickup truck. But the cabin chassis seem to have them. So I'm not really sure exactly. I know lots of guys say that it's a cabin chassis head, but I've seen those on non-cabin chassis trucks. So I'm not really sure what the definitive, if it's like where it was built or if it's an emissions thing. I'm not really 100% sure. I know that it promotes airflow anyway, because that's actually a performance thing we do, not just like that, but similar to that, helps the airflow. But let's lay these crankshafts down. If you look at this crankshaft, how many holes are in that crankshaft? And then look at this crankshaft. Yeah, so you can see this one has a snout on it. So the 13 plus early ones are the same bolt pattern as this, but it has this little snout on it. But this one is a 10 bolt. And that sucks because they're supposed to be stronger, but this crank actually has a bunch of cracks. And I don't know if it's this journal or that journal. One of the two journals, it has cracks on the journal. So the crankshaft's junk, which sucks, but it is what it is. Other than that, the crankshafts look exactly the same. All the measurements are the same, all that stuff. So I don't know. Other than this, I think that's it. So that, as far as the crankshafts, just the back where it bolts on is different. So interchangeably, I think you could interchange your 13 plus as long as you change your flywheel, and you have to change a couple other things, but you're kind of going backwards doing that unless you can't find an engine. But so I got a bunch of parts sitting up. So all the parts this way are from the earlier 6.7. Parts this way are from the later 6.7. So let's start, I guess, on the outside and work our way in. So on the outside, we have camshaft. Camshaft, right? Nice big lobes. Here's the tappet, solid tappet. Nice big tappet, right? That's going to run across there. So you look at that. Now you come over to this crankshaft, or this camshaft. Now this camshaft is cast. So, and you can see that by the casting flash, right? Come over here. Now, something else to notice, how wide this gear is versus how wide that gear is. The gear is considerably wider, and I'm not really sure the reason for that. I'm thinking that it probably has something to do with this. These have hydraulic roller lifters in them, which is cool, but kind of a pain at the same time. So you'll see that the lobes are quite a bit narrower, and the reason for that is because you don't want the lifter to be rolling, obviously, and then the profile's a lot different because the roller will follow a much different profile, right? So take this into consideration. This is a hydraulic lifter. And for you guys that don't know what a hydraulic lifter does away with, we'll talk about it in a second. So that is something cool about that block, is that you can, I'm thinking they're probably building a hybrid, some sort of hybrid engine out of this in the near future for probably a maybe new race truck. So we'll see. So hydraulic roller lifter, hydraulic camshaft, or camshaft for a hydraulic roller. Now something else that I noticed, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to say that this is a steel camshaft because there's no casting flash on it at all. So that's cool. That means that camshaft is way stronger. I do not know what the profile on these are. I probably could look it up, but I don't, at this time, I don't know. Maybe I'll do another video talking about that. So we'll talk about the rest of the valve train here first. So like I said, the cylinder head, valves, all that type of stuff. Now they do have, something I do know, they do have a heavier duty spring. So these engines do have a heavier duty spring than the earlier ones, but they're really hard to get and they're expensive. So it's not really a cheap performance upgrade, if that's, you know, I know lots of guys are going to ask. So not so much. It's an upgrade, but not a cheap upgrade. So Here we have push rod. If you notice, it has a round ball on both sides. And here is the rocker with no adjustment on it. So they have this, these I believe would be an adjustment. So if you machine the head or machine the block, you could change that. But I'm not 100% sure. There's not a lot of information on these engines. But I would assume that that's what that is for. So that's the rocker, right? And here's the push rod from the other end. And it's just a little bit longer, but the dimensions of the engine is the same. But here's got the cup and then the ball on the other side. And then here is the rocker, which has its adjustment in it. So other than that, they're very similar to each other. It's just that these don't have the adjuster and these do. So when I use this, I'm hopefully, if I can find, I'd like to probably put new lifters in it because I believe that these ones have probably had a hard life. Well, I shouldn't say believe. These have had a hard life. So I'm going to look into lifters, but I don't think I'll have it hydraulic. I'll probably block the hydraulic off so I can have the adjustment. But we'll see. I'm not 100% sure. I got to look into it more, I should say, because I don't know with the roller if it'll like bouncing off the camshaft. Anyways, I'm not 100% sure. So that talking valve train stuff, so it's very similar. It's just that it's hydraulic, so there's no play in it. And maybe you can just use it hydraulic, and I'm just overthinking it. So I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. Now, main studs or main bolts. Main bolt is a 14. The earlies are, don't mind the flat spots. I don't use this for an engine anymore. This is the late. This is the early. So you go from 12 to 14. That's cool. Even if you're going to do a stud or something, it's still, it's still definitely an upgrade going even just 14 mil. So I do like that. So we go from there. Now the main caps and all that stuff, very similar, not identical, but they're very similar. I don't think there's any more strength or not, like weaker or stronger from the look of it. But, well, we see if we kick one out, then we'll know. I know lots of guys are using parts of these engines in builds. I'm not exactly sure what they're using and what they're not using. It's kind of tight-lipped as far as it is right now. So, and then we'll go with connecting rods. So something that you will notice in a very quick second, the rod itself is very similar. Sizes are all the same. Like down here is all the same. This web is all basically the same. But if you take this rod, and this is the early wrist pin, that wrist pin is way bigger. So that wrist pin is definitely going to be stronger. I don't know whether they're any better, but they're definitely stronger. So there's the comparison of the two. Here, let me get these out of the way. You can see the difference. Like, there is quite a difference. And then, so that's the difference in the rods, the same size rod bolts, all that stuff. And I don't know, like I said, from what I was told that these rods are supposed to be better, but I don't know. I don't see it. They're very similar in weight. There's not a lot of webbing difference. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that on that one. If you do, let me know in the comments. So wrist pins, like I said, the wrist pin is definitely bigger. Like you can see like that's a considerable size difference, right? I don't know what the actual size difference is, but I got it flush. I got it flush on this side. Let me see that. Yeah, I got it flush on this side, and then you can see the overhang. Like, it's quite a bit. So the wrist pin should be stronger. Like, it's a beefy chunk. I wouldn't say it's actually any heavier. Oh, it's definitely heavier. So I don't know if the rotating mass would be heavier too, or like your rod and combo assembly, I should say. So into the piston side of things, obviously your wrist pin being bigger, that does make a difference. I got the clips in there. That being, like that's definitely a difference. The bowl are basically the same. So this is the early one. There is a later one that has just the same size bowl as this, just with the smaller wrist pin. That's the 13. What year is that? 13, 14 crossover. They changed the bowl design just a little bit, but here nor there. Is for what we're talking about anyway. And they do have coated skirts right from the factory. These ones are not. So as far as that goes, I think that pretty much has all of the differences that I could see anyway. There might be some more differences, but I think that these blocks, so what I'm thinking about doing for you guys that are still here, we'll talk about this for a minute here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an earlier 6.7 crankshaft in this block, probably do a girdle on it with the 14 mil main bolts or main studs at that point. We're going to do the roller lifter. I don't know whether it'll be hydraulic or not, but it'll be roller with this camshaft. And then it has this big gear on it, which is nice because that will hold more power, hold more drive power, I guess you should say. And then what we'll do is we'll use a set of probably Wagler rods or maybe D&J. Might do D&J rods, but we'll see. Billet rods, and then we'll probably use this style of piston, but an aftermarket one. There again, probably from D&J with tool steel wrist pins. There we go. Can't talk apparently. In this block. So basically what we'll be doing is like half of the older engine, half of the newer engine. So probably like taking the best of all the worlds. I don't know if anybody makes a aftermarket piston and rod for these. I've never seen one yet. And then the rockers, I don't know exactly what we're going to do there yet either. That's a little something I'll have to do a little bit of research on because I'm curious. But I do like the roller. That intrigues me. The roller camshaft intrigues me. And then, like I said, these blocks are a little bit lighter, and I'm told that they're stronger. Whether or not they are, I don't know. But they definitely should be, the mains should be stronger with the 14s. And like I said, if I can put a girdle on it, that'd be cool. And I'll probably actually test fit a girdle. So I have a girdle for the engine that we're building for this truck. I have a girdle for the add engine, which is going to be a 6.7. Maybe we will just test fit it on this to see if it actually fits, because that'd be nice to know. So I think that'll be it for this video. If there's anything else you guys wanted me, I should talk. Oh, hold on. This is the front timing case, which is a little bit different. Bolts on the same way. This is integrated into it. This on bolts on the other one, and this was a CP4, CP4 truck. So it's got that big ugly piece on it. So if you were, let's say, building a new one of these motors and you wanted to convert to a CP4 or CP3, sorry, I am like 99% sure what you could do is take the older case and put the CP4 on it. The only thing that I don't know, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm lying to you. The cam sensor and crank sensor are different. I'm lying to you. You might be able to make it work, but I don't know. I'd have to monkey with that a little bit. But the timing case is different from the early to the late. All the early 6.7s are the same, then this late one is different. But you can buy adapters and stuff, so you're probably just better off to do that. And then there is a few other differences, but that's just like stuff that bolts onto the engine. The engine itself, just the way it is basically very similar, but some cool upgrades. And I do really like that it has cam bushings throughout the block. So, you know, if you were doing a performance build and you have more than one engine, you have some parts laying around, one of these blocks, I think, in time will be a really good upgrade, because to do the 14 mil upgrade on your mains, the cam bushings throughout, you know, you're getting a steel camshaft with roller. Man, that's like, to have something like that, and you're talking some cheddar. Like just the roller lifters, like I don't even know. I think there's a couple companies that that used to make them. I don't know if they still do. Man, they were not cheap. They were expensive. So this might be a cheap alternative and be able to get some upgrades out of the deal. So just something to think of. I think I'm going to use one. I'm going to use this maybe in our new race truck. I haven't talked much about yet. Just because I have it, and why not? Might as well play around a little bit. I like playing and doing different stuff. So, like, subscribe, hit me down in the comments, and remember, it's not rocket science.